Hello everyone, and welcome to another Planetside 2 training video. Today I'm going to be discussing the light machine guns that are available to the heavy assault class. So I'm going to go through each one, and I'm only going to cover light machine guns simply because there are a number of shotguns and SMGs and missile launchers that are also available in this class. However, I do want to cover just the basics here just to get started. So, to begin. First off, we're going to be covering the MSW-R. The MSW-R is 250 certs. It has a 50-round magazine and is probably the best close-quarters light machine gun available to the Terran Republic. Typically, I like to go with the 1X sight on this simply because the 2X isn't available, and since we're going to be close range, 1X works fine. Advanced laser sight is also what you want to have equipped on this weapon system. Reason being is because up close, you want to be firing from the hip, just because it's a little bit too hard to aim down the sight on a fast-moving target that's going to be crossing your screen very quickly. So, equipping this, we can see that downrange, it has a little bit of capability. It's not exactly the best weapon in the world for this, but as far as hip fire goes, hip fire is pretty easy to do. This is where the weapon shines. So up close in, like, close quarter tower fights and that sort of thing, if you're going to be using a light machine gun, this is a good one to use, and it's just because it's fairly accurate from the hip. Reload's pretty quick, probably the fastest for the LMGs. Other than that, you're not going to see much use for this weapon. Next up, I want to talk about the NS-15M. Now, my typical preference is any weapon system that has a 2X scope is always going to be on there. So, 2X scope, and I always love forward grip when it's available, so I'm going to equip that. This one has 55 rounds in the magazine, average damage. It's got a little bit upward left pull to it, as you can see. So, as far as ranging targets, you're going to see white tracers come out of this, so it's hard to identify who the shooter is. So a lot of times people will not exactly know who's shooting. If you fire a normal TR gun, you're going to see red tracers. So from the hip, this is, it's an okay weapon. It's not great, but it can get the job done. It's an all-around good rifle in general, or good LMG in general. And this is just simply because you have both range and hip fire. And as you see, you can actually nail things down range pretty accurately. And the reload is fairly quick, just because it's an NS weapon. Now, if you happen to buy this gun in particular with station cache, you will notice that it is available on all three factions. But that's only if you get it with station cache, and that's the same with any nanite systems weapon, pretty much. Alright, and the next one I want to look at here is the T16 Rhino. Now, the Rhino is probably our best long-range weapon overall. It just has the best accuracy, and because of that, I like to put the 4X TMS scope on. It's hard to use. If you don't like that, typically go for, I believe it has a 1X available. It doesn't have a 2X, so you are limited on that. That's why I prefer the TMS 4X on it. I also get the advanced grip. This is the only LMG that features an advanced grip, so you might as well get it. So, doing that, we can see the downrange here. We've got no problem hitting targets. Up close is a different story. It has a little bit more hip inaccuracy, and we can see how wide the actual cursor is here. And you shoot from the hip, yeah, good luck hitting anything. So up close, you're a little bit defenseless. But when you aim down the scope, it's pretty dead on. And especially with that advanced grip, you can sustain your fire downrange and hit targets even at extreme ranges. Damage-wise, it's average. I mean, you're not going to get a whole lot of heavy damage weapons on TR. That's kind of our downside. Next up, the T32 Bull. And the T32 Bull, again, 2X sight, and you want to go with the forward grip on it. This LMG kind of fits in a lot of different places. It has good hip accuracy, as you can see here. You can actually hit things from the hip pretty good. 60-round magazine, so it's kind of in between both the T16 and it's kind of like the MSW-R in the magazine, the reload type. Downrange is actually very accurate. You can do pretty well with this LMG. I'd say this is a good all-around generalist weapon. So if you're not sure what to use, this is a good choice. Now, I want to cover also the T7 mini chain gun. Now, the mini chain gun is a heavy weapon, so it's technically not an LMG. But, however, it does act like one. If you want to have good accuracy with this, just aim down the sights. Slight movement can cause slight variation, but really what throws off the accuracy, and this is a complete cone of fire weapon, is when you depress the trigger from the hip. You see how it spreads out real fast, and we're, you know, shooting like crazy. If you jump, yeah, forget about it. Now, it does reload quick, and if you're ever concerned about accuracy, you can always start off just firing from the hip, and then close down with the right trigger, or excuse me, right click, and you can actually nail people pretty dead on. You can cut that cone of fire. It does have some pretty good accuracy at range if you fire it in bursts. So you can do that, but you're also not going to have any magnification level at all. So it's not bad overall. It's a good weapon. Oftentimes I find myself using it in like mid-range fights and up to close-range fights. So it doesn't do bad. Now, next up we have the T9 Carv. The T9 Carv is the standard starting weapon for the Terran Republic. It's kind of crappy. It doesn't do bad up close. I mean, it has a decent hip fire accuracy. It really puts out rounds quick. Down range, you're going to notice, especially at long range with 1x scope, it kind of jitters. It goes left and right on its own. This is a horizontal recoil they put on it. Because of that, I don't really like this weapon. It has extremely low damage. I mean, it's fast firing, so if you can manage to keep your gun on target, it's a good weapon. But other than that, you really won't use it that much once you discover other weapons on TR. It's a good starting point. So next up, we have the T9 Carv-S, which is a different flavor of the Carv. Now, me personally, I put an extended magazine on it. Now, why do I do this? Because if I put a grip on it, it's basically the T9 Carv with maybe a 2x magnification scope, which gives it a little bit of advantage, but at the same time you lose some fire rate to get that. It actually fires a little bit slower than the T9 Carv. We can see that right here. T9 Carv has 750 fire rate, and the Carv-S has 698. So already you're losing out by doing that. Now, what makes this thing nice, in the niche I found it for, is in biolab fights. When you're, you know, close to mid-range, you can handle this weapon. It kind of performs a little bit like the MCG does. It also performs kind of like the Carv, so it's kind of both in one. Allows you to fire from decent ranges with the 2x magnification as long as you can fight the recoil. Not bad from the hip, but the advantage of this weapon is the fact you can depress the trigger and not worry about ammo and just go hog wild on people and not have to reload, because reloading is kind of a pain and gets you killed in some fights. Well, this is where this weapon shines. So if you're looking for kind of a niche close range gun for biolab fights, I like this one. Not a lot of people do. Just depends on what you're looking to do. And of course, lastly I want to cover the TMG-50. The TMG-50's got 2x again, and it has just a standard foregrip. I kind of wish it had an advanced one, but you work with what you're given, and we only have one gun that has an advanced grip, which is the Rhino. This weapon fires slower than any of the other ones. It does fire good downrange, especially if you're crouched. If you're crouched and firing downrange, you're going to nail targets. It's nice and slow fire, so you can adjust for recoil pretty easily. It's very similar to the EM6, I believe it is, on the NC, but it has a little less damage. The damage is actually pretty good on this. It's the hardest hitting weapon we have, which means for long ranges you're going to get less fall off. So if you're looking to kill people really out in the distance, this is probably your best solution, along with the T16 Rhino. So it's up to you what you want to use, but always pick the right tool for the right job. Some of these are better unlocked with certifications like the MSW-R. Some of them you can spend station cash on if you want. If you're looking to spend station cash, you're going to probably want to go for something like an NS weapon that's going to apply to all three factions if you're going to buy it that way. And that way, if you decide to jump between factions, you can pull that weapon out and be like, hey, cool, I got this already. Other than that, you know, you want to pick the gun that's right for you, and eventually you'll just build up a cache of what you have. I've got all of these unlocked, and I find myself using some more than others. It's very rare when I pull out, for example, the T9 Carv-S, and that's simply because it's not really that good overall, except for, like, you know, close to mid-range fights, which, if you're in a fight like that, it's probably a biolab. So anyways, hopefully this has been helpful, and if you guys want to see any previews or any, you know, reviews at all on any of the Terran Republic classes, just let me know. I'm starting off with the heavy here, and I'm not covering everything, obviously, but this is just strictly for LMGs, so if you want to see something, request it. Hopefully this was helpful, guys, and see you later.